So 5 years ago, I wanted to figure out how to build a clothing brand. After being obsessed with streetwear growing up, watching my mom sew clothes out of our living room, doing trunk shows, I wanted to figure it out. But I had no idea where to start, how to build, how to scale, how to get to the next level. I didn't know anything. I had no idea what I was doing. And fast forward to the current date, I now have $1 million clothing brand that sells out in minutes every single time we drop. We have our own studio, we have a whole team, and I've pretty much achieved everything that, little 18-year-old Marsh set out to achieve. All right, I have a long way to go, but I've learned a lot along the way, and I'd like to share something with you guys. But everything I've learned up until to date was without any help. All right, I just trialed and errored that bitch, threw shit against the wall till it worked, and it took 5 years, but here we are today on the verge of having an amazing brand. We've created something awesome already, but we're just going to keep getting better. Now, because I had to do everything trial and error with no guidance or cool YouTube videos online to help me, I lost a lot of money. All right, I lost a lot of money, a lot of time. I went through a lot of discouraging experiences that almost made me quit. And I've made pretty much every stupid mistake in the book, like ordering hundreds of this item that never sold and just sat in my warehouse for years until I eventually donated them to Goodwill. I've made all of those mistakes, and I made this video so that you guys don't make the same mistakes that I did. Because I don't want you to blow tens of thousands of dollars on stupid shit like I did. And to help with this, I've asked thousands of brand owners within my community, on my socials, to give me their most pressing, helpful questions that I can go over in this video to help you guys figure it out and get somewhere. And I've put together a list of the most common ones, and I'll be answering them in this video so that you guys never have to guess about it again. And at the very end of this video, I have something very special that I'd love to gift to everybody watching right now. What is the biggest challenge starting out? So the biggest challenges for me when starting out, there were 3 of them, all of equal importance. But the first one was figuring out why people were going to come and buy from me instead of all of the other brands, right? Like anybody can make clothes, but if you want to buy clothes just to have clothes, then you can go down to Zara or Target or H&M and buy a shirt and instantly come home with it. But why were people going to come buy my clothes instead, right? Understanding my unique selling point, right? Understanding the culture and the energy and the philosophy and the brand's reason for existence, right? Like, why do we exist? Does the world need another clothing brand? Well, yes, it needs my clothing brand because of this, right? And this was one of the biggest struggles that I had, figuring out what is this. So I figured this out by asking myself 3 main questions. The first being, who do I want to sell to, right? Who is my target customer? Who is my ICP? What do they look like? What do they smell like? Where do they live? And that leads me to the second question, which is, what do I want to make to sell to those people? All right, what clothes do I want to make? For example, if I want to sell to people living in Alaska, I'm not going to make tank tops and swim trunks. I'm going to make parkas and puffers, right? So once you have the answers to those 2 questions, you know who you want to sell to, you know what you want to sell to them. You need to ask yourself, why are those people going to buy these clothes from me instead of my competitors, right? This is going to give you your unique selling point. This is going to give you the juice, the reason for existence, all right? And that sometimes takes longer to figure out. Sometimes the answer to that is going to evolve over time. But once you do find the answer to that, then you're unstoppable. Then you have a blueprint. The answers to those 3 questions will basically dictate every decision that you make for your brand moving forward. So that was the first big struggle, was understanding my identity, where I was going to separate myself from my competition. The next big struggle was understanding where to put my time and money. All right, do I buy a $200 bulk order of these t-shirts, or do I do a pre-order, or do I buy a mentorship, or do I go over here and invest in learning how to design clothes, right? In the beginning, you don't know what your skill set is. You don't know what you're good at, right? Unless you do, and you're walking in with design experience, then you know, okay, I don't need to spend money on a designer. I can design this myself. But a lot of us aren't walking into this with design experience. So I thought that I needed to go and learn Adobe Photoshop and learn Illustrator and learn Procreate and learn all these things. And I spent a ton of time and money buying mock-up packs and buying the softwares I needed and investing in watching YouTube videos on how to use those softwares. And eventually I learned like, okay, like, this isn't my thing. I'm just going to pay somebody who's better at it than me, because otherwise I'm going to be making, number one, dog shit products. And number two, I'm going to waste a ton of my time and energy on things that I'm not going to be good at and that I'm not going to do in the future of my brand, right? So in the beginning, it's really tough identifying like what your skill set is. Are you good at content, or are you good at making clothes, or are you good at making graphic designs, or are you good at storytelling or world building? Like, what are you good at and what do you need to hire out? Right? That's the biggest thing, is understanding your strengths. So what I would encourage you guys to do is identify the strengths needed to build a clothing brand, right? Like I said, like content, graphic design, garment design, understanding terminologies and talking to manufacturers. So yeah, basically identify your strength and invest in your weak points. That's my ideology. Now, the third biggest challenge that I had to learn when starting out was understanding that the people who are successful are not the smarter people. They're not the fashion students. They're not the Nepo babies. They're the people who work the most at what they do, right? At what they care about. So if you start a clothing brand and you put 1 to 2 hours a week into this, like, you're going nowhere. And I quickly came to that understanding. So I started putting 1 to 2 hours in a day. Right. And then I met people who were putting 2 to 4 hours in a day, and they were where I wanted to be. So I learned, okay, shit, I need to put 2 to 4 hours a day into this instead of 1 to 2. Right. And once you understand that the more hours you put into your brand, the more hours you put into learning, the more hours you put into execution, the faster you will achieve the results that you have in mind, whether that's selling out your first drop, or making your first piece, or getting your first sample, or having your first pop-up, or having your first, collection, or having a runway, or whatever it is, right? Like, the more that you work, the faster you will get where you want to be. So my philosophy is work as hard as you can, prioritize your brand above other things in your schedule, and you'll get the results you want a lot faster. So the resources that I consumed when I first started were primarily YouTube. I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, and unfortunately back then, YouTube really only offered outdated information. It was stuff that worked back in 2019, 2020, and I started the stuff, a little bit after that. So I really didn't have much good shit to consume. I was also watching a lot of other brand owner YouTubers, and they were giving very, very surface level sauce. Like, a lot of brand owners were super weird about that and didn't want to put people on and didn't want to educate people. And I wanted to be educated. And back whenever I was learning all this stuff, there were no mentorship programs. You had fashion school, but I sure as fuck wasn't going to fashion school. I was bound and determined to figure it out myself. I was really egotistical about it. I wasn't even really looking for help. I did have a few people that kind of landed in my lap that kind of helped me set up my Shopify, which is very surface level skill that you can find on the internet and set up in like 30 minutes to an hour. I met people who understood graphic design that referred me to a few good graphic designers after I struggled with it for a month or two trying to figure it out myself and failed. And outside of that, I would watch old lectures from Virgil, right? Virgil Abloh, many of you know him, the founder of Off-White, worked with Nike, worked with Adidas, worked with basically every big brand, IKEA. He is essentially the founding father of luxury streetwear. So I watched a lot of his videos and any material that I could get my hands on from him. He has a lot of good material on YouTube that he posted before he passed, and I'd highly recommend any brand owner or aspiring brand owner to go and consume what you can, find what you can, and listen to what he says. You have to listen to it a few times to really understand it, because he speaks very metaphorically, and a lot of the time his words seem very out of order. But once you do start piecing the words together and the sentences together, you start understanding things on a level that you didn't prior. So I would highly recommend watching him on YouTube. I used to watch Siegs on YouTube. He's a YouTuber that pretty much primarily goes over the very bare bone basics, much more like, oh, this is how you start your Shopify, or this is how you run a pre-order, this is how you make a tech pack. And I learned a lot of the bare bones stuff from him. So yeah, I really didn't have much. I would have loved to have videos like what I post on YouTube to learn from, which is why at the end of this video, I'm giving you guys what I feel to be probably the greatest gift from me to the streetwear clothing brand community as of yet. And yes, it is free. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. It's genuinely just something I would have loved to have back whenever I started. So, developing a brand vision to stand out. So the first thing you need to understand about this question is that you are not just selling clothes anymore. This isn't the 1950s where you need a shirt to put on your back, so you go to the shirt store and get a shirt, right? This is 2025, where there are tons of clothing brands, tons of saturation, and people now need a further reason to buy from you than just the fact that you are offering a t-shirt with a graphic on it, or a hoodie with embroidery on it, or sweatpants with anything. And for me, the easiest and quickest way to find that extra juice, that extra sauce that you can add to your brand to pull people in, is to look within. All right, that's going to be your greatest source of inspiration, is what do you like? What lifestyle do you like? What things do you like? What creative elements do you like? What do you consume? What kind of music do you listen to? What kind of movies do you like? What kind of clothes do you wear? All right, look in your own closet. What are you already wearing? What is something that already intrigues you, right? As a brand owner, as a founder, your creative output needs to be as authentic and congruent with what's within as humanly possible. You need to lead from the front, right? So for my brand, Tame Psychotic, we're all about essentially aggressive ascension, right? Making it no matter what the fuck happens. So for me, if I was a computer science nerd, right, and I had no interest in bikes and guns and workwear and distressing and leather, right, my brand wouldn't work because what I'm creating is not authentic to who I am. And a lot of people with e-commerce backgrounds will hear that and be like, oh, well, actually, you're wrong. I can go and create a store and sell backpacks on that store. Oh, yeah, well, go and sell backpacks and come back to me in a month whenever your store dies and you have to find the new product because you have no community, no juice, no reason to exist because there's a million other backpack stores and you're just one seller on the internet trying to fight with everybody else. All right. People aren't going to buy into the vision if it's clear that the founder, that the creative director doesn't buy into it either. If you don't care about your product and you don't care how your product is marketed, neither will the people that you're trying to market it to. So live the lifestyle that you sell, is what I'm trying to say. So the key takeaway here is understanding that the more authentic that you can be as a brand owner, the more that you understand yourself and know who you are and what you like and what your values are, the more authentic your brand's output will become, which means the more unique your brand will become, because we're all created differently. There is no two humans on this earth who are exactly the same, because God made us in his image. We are fearfully and wonderfully made, which means we are each and every one of us unique in our own ways. So if you can be as authentic as possible with your brand will inevitably be unique because your brand will just be you. And if you want a good example of this, just go look at my brand and then go look at my personal Instagram page. Look at the colors, look at the textures, look at the imagery, look at the clothing, look at the outfits, look at the shapes, look at the feeling, listen to the music attached to the post, watch the videos and feel the energy that my brand breathes and that my personal brand breathes. And you'll see and feel and hear the congruency between the two. And you'll begin to understand that my brand is special and unique because it's authentic to who I am. And I am special and I am unique. And a lot of you guys are going to spend weeks and months and maybe even years trying to figure out, what's going to make my brand special, when the answer is literally sitting right underneath your nose. The answer is you. And that's been the case for years with every single other brand. Supreme, Stussy, Rick Owens, all right? The designer, the creative director believed in his designs and his artwork and his creative output before anyone else did. And what made everyone else believe in them was his authentic display of that artwork, of that creative direction. So how do I start a clothing brand with no money? This is actually a very controversial topic within the clothing brand space. What a lot of brand owners will tell you is that you need this fat list of like 30 things that you have to buy. And the reason they're idiots and you shouldn't listen to them is because maybe 5 years in, you need all those 30 things. But in year one, whenever you're starting, or year two, whenever you're scaling, you don't need all that bullshit. Okay, maybe you need to spend $500-600 on everything, $60 for Shopify. You have a smartphone, you can download Instagram to post, or post in Reddit. I mean, you'll have to spend like $60 on Shopify, $100 on a sample, especially if you print locally or with a print-on-demand service. You'll need to get a graphic design made unless you want to buy one for yourself, and you can get those anywhere from $30 to $150. I spend $250 to $300 per design, but you don't have to, especially when starting. So you'll need some pocket change stretch a little bit out of your savings, but you're not going to need thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, with that being said, this is for people who are just starting. Now, as you grow your business, you will need to invest in more knowledge, more resources, more experienced people on your team, recruiting, assets, things of that nature. But when you're starting, there's not a ton you need to worry about investing in. So ultimately, your first goal in building your clothing brand should be to get your ideas out there and test some designs, test some graphics, test some clothes, test some choices that you've made artistically. And once you get some traction on your designs, your clothes, your graphics, you can start leveraging cheaper options to start getting your clothes actually made and sold to your customer. And before you get your panties in a wad and come to me saying, oh, well, print on demand's low quality, so-and-so and so-and-so told me I have to have everything cut and sewn, custom overseas in Italy, shut the fuck up. Okay, you don't know what you're talking about. And if you're a starter and you're looking to not spend a shit ton, print on demand, believe it or not, is a really, really good option for beginners who don't have any data to get their designs out there, start testing things before they make a massive commitment to a 50 or 100 MOQ bulk order overseas and waste a shit ton of money on a design that people don't even like. Print on demand is actually a really, really good way to enter the market and test your designs without having to take on any heavy financial risk or commit, like I said, to a 50 or 100 MOQ bulk order. And before you guys all come to me and say, oh, well, it's still low quality, I can't use it. Shut up. Okay, in the same way that I didn't fly to China and source my own hardware and my own fabrics my first year running my brand, you can't just expect to step into the game operating at the highest level, because your first designs are ultimately going to be shit. Just like my first designs were shit, Rigowen's first designs were shit, everybody's first designs are shit. So why take on a lot of financial risk when you know your first designs are going to be shit anyways? Okay, start at the bottom, start with the safe option. Again, this question is answering how to do it with little to no money. Start at the safe option, go with print on demand. They will get the job done for now. And I mean, hell, even some of the biggest brands in the United States, Coca-Cola, Spotify, MTV, they're using print on demand, Printful to be exact, to get their merch. And you can access the same quality, blanks, and distribution as those big companies with zero upfront costs. And this is going to be suitable for a lot of you guys starting out because, again, you're not trying to make revolutionary avant-garde designs just yet. All right, you're not Rick Owens just yet. Right now, what you need to focus on is your graphic style, your design language, and your creative direction, your ideation, your identity, who you are as a brand, your messaging. Okay, that needs to come first. But I will disclaimer, this is ultimately a long game. All right, this isn't a drop shipping side hustle. Okay, so no money isn't going to get you far. You need to get a job. You need to get obsessed. You need to start saving your money instead of spending your money on stupid shit, the newest fucking Hellstar drop, the newest whatever drop. Okay, start saving your money for your own drops and your own brand. You need to start saving your money and building conviction so that you can be fit to make those heavy investments in the future, because you will need to eventually you will need to invest heavily in your brand if you want to take it all the way, and your conviction needs to be there so that you are fit to take those risks, because if you don't spend money, you don't make money. We've all heard the saying, you got to spend money to make money, and it is very true. I understand that better than most. I've been in the red before. I've lost money before. I've gone negative trying to make this shit work before. And I will tell you, you will need to eventually spend some money. So don't stay in this mindset of like, oh, it's a fucking side hustle that I can spend no money and make money on. No, you can start without money, but you cannot scale without money. So my first drop that I sold out actually wasn't the 100K in 30 minutes that everybody has seen before. It was actually a drop with 2 t-shirts. They were 2 Call of Duty themed t-shirts. I did 100 of each t-shirt, and that was my first drop to actually sell out. Prior to that, I was doing pre-orders, and once I started doing pre-made, my first drop again was those 2 t-shirts. This was the first drop where I actually took storytelling and narrative seriously, and I started shooting editorials and actual photo shoots that were themed and told a kind of story. I started implementing like music that told the story even better, and BTS. It was a ton of fun, ton of adrenaline. Definitely will always remember that drop. So that was my first sellout. But what most people don't understand is I actually had multiple drops before this where I didn't sell out, and my first time ever doing a pre-made drop. It was New Year, the 1st of 2023, I believe. I bought these hoodies. I made these utility, kind of like tech hoodies, pockets everywhere. I thought they were so sick. Thought they were going to go ultra, triple, viral, platinum. Everybody was going to buy them. So I bought 300 of them. We did a dope photo shoot. Everybody seemed to like them at first. And then come drop day, I didn't even sell half of them. So to this day, I still have about 170 to 200 utility tech hoodies sitting in my storage unit back in California. And that was the biggest lesson that taught me, like, hey, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't take financial risks that you shouldn't take, that you aren't ready for, that data doesn't support. And it was a big lesson learned, and we didn't sell out. We even tried to sell off the rest with ads. That's the only other time that I've spent money on ads, and we lost $4,000 more trying to sell them with ads. So yeah, that was a failed experiment and one that I learned a lot from. But it was at that point where we hit rock bottom, and I was like, okay, I need to start over. I need to create something that tells a story. I need to start attaching identity to this. I need to start testing different products. I need to start enhancing my messaging, and I need to lock in. All right. And that was whenever I started working towards those drops that I did in 2024, and the end of 2023 that were actually selling out and doing well. And with each drop I did, I gained more knowledge. I learned more and more about who I was selling to, what my customers wanted, what they enjoyed. I got feedback from the items that we did ship out that people were wearing. I took note of what people were wearing, what people were posting, what people weren't posting, so that I could further enhance my purchase orders and my SKU decks that I would build for the collections after that and the collections after that. And each collection got better and better and was built and comprised of what people wanted rather than what I thought people wanted. And guys, that whole story is literally why I'm here. All right. Why I make these videos, why I've built the tools and resources and communities that I have. I don't want anybody else to go through that shit, because that was painful. Having that drop and not even selling half of our inventory was painful. And it's a pain that I know a lot of people have been through. And my goal is to help you guys avoid that, or to only experience it once and learn from it, rather than quitting and understanding, like, look, I've been there too. If you are there or you've been there, you know that feeling. I want you to keep going. I don't want you to count that as a failure, because if I had counted as a failure and I had quit that day, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in my studio. I wouldn't have my dream car sitting outside. I wouldn't have my dream team on tap, on deck always. I wouldn't be throwing a party for my brand at the end of the month. I wouldn't be having a September launch. I wouldn't be going to Complex Con next month. I wouldn't be dropping a 20-piece collection every month. I'd be fucked. All right. So don't quit. If you have experienced that, keep going. If you haven't, listen to my words carefully so that you can avoid that and you don't have to go through the same mistake that some of us have been through. I actually have a student, his name's Lauren. He bought, I think, 170 pairs of these cargo pants, and whenever he dropped, he only sold 35 of them, and he almost quit. And then he came to me and he talked to me, and we had a chat, and we talked about his situation, kind of where he was at, right? And he explained kind of what happened, and we were able to turn his brand around and get him to a point where he was making, I believe at peak, like $9,000 a week at one point. He was doing in-person events. He was doing fundraisers. He was sponsoring basketball teams. He's truly killing it out there in the Navajo province. He's doing really well. And that is like the best testimony. And that's just a secondary testament of the shit that I went through. You know, because I was able to go through that, I was able to go to Lauren and actually help him get through that. Instead of quitting and turning to something else or trying something else, we were able to tackle the issue, get the inventory sold off, get new drops rolling, get community events rolling, and now he's killing it. And he started exactly the same as many of you are watching this video right now. And if this kind of help is something you guys would be interested in, just tap into the description below and we'll get you hooked up. So if you're getting reach, but you're having trouble selling, then you are doing something wrong. Essentially, your content strategy is busted. Your messaging is busted. Your community development is probably next to nothing. Your consumer targeting is definitely off, and you're probably just not engaging with your audience enough. Now, I've done a full 45-minute masterclass on marketing. If you guys want to watch that video, it's in the description as well. But to break this down simply, you need to understand who you're selling to. That is why in the beginning of this video, I talked about the first question being, who am I trying to sell to, right? And what you want to do is you want to figure out that person, and you want to learn everything there is to learn about them. I was just talking to a kid earlier this week, and he's starting this kind of vintage luxury surfwear brand. And he was like, bro, I don't know what kind of content to make, to reach these people. I'm posting videos, I'm posting my clothes, but they're not reaching the people that want to buy the clothes. They're not reaching the people that will buy my clothes. And I told him, I said, hey, you're not posting the right content. And he was like, okay, well then what content do I post? And I said, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of your target consumer. What kind of content are you watching? What kind of content is intriguing? What kind of content are you sharing to your friends? And if you don't know, then you're going to go to theme pages. You're going to go to influencers in that niche. You're going to observe which pieces of content that these pages and these influencers are posting is getting views, what's getting likes, what's getting shares. Okay, well maybe it's videos of these surfers ripping crazy waves, or maybe it's cinematic shots through the barrel of a wave, or maybe it's a video of an old man making a surfboard on the beach, or maybe it's two people out on surfboards paddling out into the open ocean. Figure out what videos those consumers that you're trying to target appreciate, and then make videos similar. Make videos that are going to provide a similar experience with the same music, the same sounds, the same colors, the same visuals, the same value, all right? If there's a discussion being had on those theme pages or those influencer pages, create a similar discussion, all right? You want to be a community. You want to be a hub for those people. And if you're not sure what those people like, then you need to go to the successful creators who reach those people successfully and see how they're doing it. Break down how they're doing it. A clothing brand is just like a business. When you start a business, first you identify other businesses adjacent to yours, and you go and you make an analysis of what they're doing. What are they doing that's pulling in traffic? What are they doing that's converting traffic? What does their website look like? What does their marketing look like? There are tools to go and look at all of these ads that other brands are doing. I mean, you've got Facebook Ads Manager, you've got Particle, you've got all these different softwares that you can use to do that, but you can do it with a simple TikTok search, a simple ChatGPT prompt, a simple Google search even. And if you're not running analysis on what your competitors are posting and what kind of content they're making, then you are behind. You are behind because you don't know. You're posting into the wind. You're literally farting into the wind, hoping that shit doesn't come back into your face. And it keeps coming back into your face every time. And every time you're like, bro, why does the fart keep coming back into my face? And it's because you haven't just taken a second to be still and look at what other people are doing, right? Make an analysis. This guy over here seems to be killing it. What is he doing? This guy over here seems to be killing it. What is he doing? And this principle is something that a lot of you are going to be like, oh, well, that's so simple. But to give you a little bit of perspective, I literally time block doom scrolling to do competitor analysis and content research in my niche so that I know what's working, so that I'm not posting shit that was working maybe 2 or 3 months ago, but is dead and washed and overused now. So in short, do content research, go to your competitors, go to your adjacent niches, figure out what they're posting, figure out what's winning, what's working, and do that shit too. How do you deal with burnout? So burnout is one of those things that is truthfully unavoidable. I bust my ass every single day. I work about 13 hours a day, and I wake up, the first thing I think about is work. And when I go to sleep, what I try to stop thinking about is work. And I typically think about it for the first 30 minutes trying to sleep, and then exhaustion wipes me, and then I dream about work. All right. So I am a workaholic, which means that I reach burnout very, very frequently. And when I do reach burnout, what I like to do is, number one, I implement a Sabbath. And for those of you who are unaware, Sabbath, Sunday. On Sunday, in the Bible, God talks about taking a day to rest. And for me, for a long time, never took a day to rest. And as of recently, I have been taking Sunday to focus strictly on keeping my spaces clean. So my room, my studio, my office, my car, my living room, my kitchen, right? My house, as well as basically just resetting myself, right? Sometimes I'll have a microdose and I'll write. Sometimes I'll clean up all of the shit on my computer and try to walk into the week with a fresh slate, fresh calendar. Sometimes I will go and I'll take a walk with no headphones, no music, no nothing, and I'll just pray and I'll talk to God. And I do this very frequently. I do this probably twice every day. Once in the morning, I walk around my pool, smoke a cigarette, pray. I know that's a little bit oxymoronic. And then in the evenings, I'll go and walk around my neighborhood, no shoes, no shirt, just my shorts and God. All right. And it's awesome. And it keeps me aligned. It keeps me focused on my work. It keeps me from reaching that point of burnout. I think another way to avoid burnout is to understand balance. And a lot of people will talk about work-life balance. But what I mean by balance is having hobbies and interests and activities completely independent of your work, of your brand. So for me, I love going off-roading. I love going and riding motorcycles. I love taking my truck and going on a road trip. I love going on boats. I love going and romping around in the Everglades. I love to go and shoot guns. I love to go camping with my buddies. I love going snowboarding, right? I love doing all these different things. And those don't necessarily contribute to my goal. And a lot of the David Goggins motherfuckers will be like, oh, well, like, who's going to carry the boats? You should be working, son. And for me, I think, yeah, that's great. But until you have truly experienced what it's like to work like 13-hour days, you don't experience burnout. And before you've experienced burnout, you think you can work till the end of time. And that's just not the case. If you do not implement some balance into your life, you will reach burnout. And once you've reached burnout, you want to quit. You want to quit. You don't want to do it anymore. You want to go to bed. You want to sleep in. You want to watch TV all day. There have been so many days in the past couple of years where I have reached like true total burnout and have no energy left to produce and put towards work. And I literally just have to rest. I have to watch TV and lay down in my living room and eat ramen noodles and literally just be a void sometimes. And that is totally okay. And you know what? I think that burnout is a privilege. It is a privilege to be able to experience burnout. And the reason being is because that means, number one, that you have enough time to devote to your work. But number two, it means that you are working hard enough to reach a point where you have just nothing left. And failure is what we want. Failure is what we learn from. Failure is what pushes us to that next milestone. Failure is what pushes us to unlock that next bit of knowledge or that next growth hack or that next shortcut or that next, software or hire that's going to take us to the next level and keep us from experiencing burnout in the same way as we just did, So whereas, yes, burnout is an annoying feeling, and I'm sure you guys have all experienced it too, be thankful. Be thankful that you have two hands and a brain that can experience burnout, okay? Because some people don't have the same privileges. Some people aren't born with a smart mind. Some people aren't born with a computer. Some people are born in a third world country where they have no money. They have no internet access, okay? And you're not one of those people, so be thankful for that. I think my biggest takeaway from working with brands for 5+ years is to make sure that your heart's in it. And when I say make sure your heart's in it, I mean make sure that the objective and purpose and reason for existence that the brand has is aligned with your heart. Do you want to do good? And if you do want to do good, what good do you want to do? Does the brand contribute to that? Does the brand need to exist? All right. Does the brand help somebody or impact somebody in a positive way? And if it doesn't, and it's simply a money-making machine, that's great. But it's not going to fulfill you. You're not going to stick with it. You're not going to love it. It's not going to be something that you truly wake up and care about. It's something that you're going to wake up and your bank account's going to care about. And if only your bank account cares about your project, then your efforts will dwindle. Your efforts will dwindle because your care just isn't there. Your heart is not there. And if your heart isn't there, as soon as you fail, you'll quit. And you'll move on to the next thing. All right. But if your heart is there and you truly do have love for the project and care for the project and you feel the project is meaningful and purposeful, when you do fail, you learn from that failure and you get back up and you do it again the next day. and you'll fail again and again and again, but you won't quit because you love it and you care about it. And that's what will make you successful. So if you want to be successful in this game, you have to make sure that your purpose behind your brand, your impact behind your brand, your messaging behind your brand, the heart and soul of your brand is aligned with your heart and soul, what you love, what you care about, your values, what you want to do for the world. And if it is, then you will be successful because you'll never quit. Who should be your first hire? So in the beginning, your first hire is probably going to be someone on the creative end of things, somebody to make designs for you, because in the beginning, unless you have a designer background, you're not going to be great at making designs. And if you don't make cool clothes, then your marketing doesn't really matter. So making cool clothes is kind of like the bare minimum requirement, meaning you'll probably have to hire a designer first. The next person you'll probably have to hire is either somebody to operate the back end if you do not know how to use Shopify and you don't want to learn, or somebody to do your content, right? Somebody to help you shoot content. Both of those things typically come next, if not first. Shooting content does require some good gear. It requires sometimes, skill with photography, with the camera. I've seen good content, I've seen bad content, and the bad content doesn't work, right? So if you want results, you need to make good content. So yeah, typically somebody to make content and distribute content will come after that. And from there, a good next step could be hiring a fulfillment team to help you pack and ship orders, manage inventory, et cetera, et cetera. You can hire somebody to manage your social media pages, your Instagram, your TikTok, your LinkedIn, your Facebook, whatever it is. I can go more in depth on that in a separate video, but a lot of you guys are not really going to be at that point yet. You need to be making some money and actually getting some results from just your own effort, in my opinion, before you take a step in hiring somebody, unless that person is a designer, right? Because again, that's kind of bare minimum. Beyond that, get some results first. Use that money to invest in your brand, to further invest in your team, make a hire on the content end of things, or on the back end of things, or in the fulfillment end of things, all right? Look for your weak point. Look for where you're struggling. Look for where you're falling behind other brands and hire there. As soon as you recognize a weakness, either learn how to fix that weakness yourself, and if it's easy to fix, cool. Go for it. And if not, and it requires a skill that requires a lot of time to build, then hire for it. Does market saturation exist? Okay, yes, market saturation exists just like it does with every other business, but the fear of not starting because you're afraid that the market is too saturated. There's new brands popping up in this saturated market every single day, okay? And if you're not one of them because you've deemed the market too saturated to succeed, so you don't even try, then you're a loser. Brands like Tracksmith popped out of nowhere and took market share in the running niche. Brands like Wants and Needs, I don't like referencing Wants and Needs because they have a very weak brand identity. They popped up out of nowhere and guerrilla marketed their way to relevance in the streetwear space. Brands like Killtech, again, popped out of nowhere, made their names in Miami. I mean, shit, you even look at the water industry. All right, water bottles of water. You'd think that niche was saturated. Then Liquid Death pops up out of nowhere, counter positions the rest of the entire market, and boom, now they have market share. And alongside it, $1 billion valuation. And this is because they understand market positioning. They understand counter positioning. They understand how to position themselves alongside the other competitors to stand out and be perceived as unique. And that applies to any market, whether it's saturated or not. And being unique all just comes down to how you market yourself. So that's what angles are you using that your competitors aren't. For example, Liquid Death taps into this whole edgy, oxymoronic, opposite of desired result type of marketing that positions them completely opposite of everybody else in the water bottle industry. I mean, using words like death and the edgy skull designs that they use on their packaging and stuff, it goes completely against what all of the other water bottle companies are doing, which provides them with a unique angle, a unique positioning, and that's their opening into the market, right? And you just need to find your angle and your positioning and how you're going to provide something unique and new to the market. And Liquid Death's positioning actually enables them to speak to people who would traditionally drink soda or energy drinks like Monster, Red Bull, not even just water. So their TAM, their total addressable market, isn't just water anymore. It's water plus soda plus energy drinks plus tea plus all this other shit, yerba mate, everything. Now, I'm a little brain dead after answering all of those questions as in depth as I did, but the answers to those questions will take you a very long way. I'd encourage you to come and rewatch this video whenever you feel stuck, if you feel like you need to be reminded of something. If there's any questions you guys think I may have missed, then comment them in the comment section below, and I'll make a video, a part 2 on these frequently asked questions. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I do have something very special for you guys. I'm going to be hosting my first ever live event on October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at 2 p.m. PST. Now, whether you're just starting your brand or you already have a brand, maybe you're already in this game and are just looking to scale, this is going to be very beneficial to you, and I want you to show up because I'll probably only do this once. So if you do want to claim your spot, you need to tap into the link below. That's the only way that you are going to get access. It's not going to be here on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, anywhere else. If you want your spot, claim it below. This will be, again, probably the only time that I ever do this. It'll be very important and potentially life-changing for a lot of you guys. I love you guys. I do this shit for the game. I love the game. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And again, if you have any other questions you'd like me to cover, any other video ideas you'd like me to get into, just comment them below. Leave a like on this video. That would be much appreciated. And I'll see you guys in the next one.